Oh, we should be alive? Alright, gonna mute this. Welcome and hello, lad, lasses, and NB badasses. I'm going to quickly just like I actually did like got a blurb going to like type out to promote the show, and then I'm going to promote the show on like all my social medias and on my and all the discords since I'm in. I'm just gonna like do the thing of like just maybe props. You're going to try to. No, hopefully yeah. That's good. Yeah, yes, yes. Hour and a half. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was kind of figured that right when I say 5 years, you then like make that as like the title of the show. 5 years. Mm-hmm. Yes. And we're now And now we're joined by our special guest this week. Those of you who are like have been like remember the like BreadTube before was BreadTube, the small group of like feminists and leftists and like social justice advocates. Well, you might remember the one guy, Owen McDonald. Owen McDonald, welcome. How are you doing?
Hello, how are you? How are you, geek? How are you? And hello, John, as
Uh,
well. Lovely to
yes,
meet you.
yes.
Oh no.
Okay, fair warning. Yeah, fair warning about John Brockman is that like with his ADHD, he has no brain to mouth filter, and once he thinks it, he says it. And unfortunately, he thinks in stochastic terrorism sometimes, so he's going to try to think in stochastic terrorism. I what?
Oh no.
I,
Uh,
I I now I feel bad for bringing you on to this kind of issues. So how are you, McDonald?
I'm quite well. A little bit achy actually. My went and played tennis a few days ago. A bit sore from
Nice.
that.
Mm,
Did manage to win just about, but
nice.
it's a case of not quite being as fit as I would have liked to have been at the end of it. I think
Oh.
I primarily do like running, so
Hmm.
the exertion of power that you place in your muscles trying to sort of strike the ball
Yeah.
naturally gets you a bit sorer. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, I don't so much mind that because I'd sort of moving around the nice parks. You're sort of just used to it. It's more like the point of impact where the racket you're swinging and you sort of like you make contact with the ball and you're trying to hit it with enough power to obviously get over the net, beat the person on the other side. And so my wrist and my arm are quite achy. But that
Hmm.
aside, all is well. Are we live currently? Like, is
Yes,
there
we're
like a
live
link?
right now.
Fantastic. Is there like a link I can
Oh yeah,
share
yeah.
or?
I'll get the Zoom at the watch. Yes, it's gonna put it in our Zoom chat. I'll probably just like share it to you in like Twitter DMs as well. Oh, I forgot to tag you in like my post to like that we are going live. And yeah, pretty much once like I get the link Zoom link, we are just go right into live as well too. So it's like it's a good thing that like what you were sharing with us was just like how you were like doing tennises as well too, as opposed to like John Brockman's stochastic terrorism as well too.
Yeah,
Hmm.
what I'll be able to say, right? I'll retweet this.
Thank you.
Um, and hopefully that should all be sent.
Yep. And
Do you have
I'm in.
a Twitter handle, John?
He gave up his Twitter a long time ago.
Yeah, don't blame me. The site
Uh,
has gone downhill.
yeah. Hello, Metro Jonas, and Uh, he is a fellow British person. He's a Northerner, though. Not there's any problem with being a Northerner. Why did I say that? He's a North.
Yeah. A Doctor Who fan as well, eh?
I should really. I should rewatch Doctor Who because I remember liking Doctor Who before it was cool to like Doctor Who because my parents would be watching Doctor Who, Tom Baker, Joan Pertwee, the third, the fourth Doctor, and the fifth Doctor, or PBS as well too. So it's just like that sort of thing. But like, and I've seen some of Chris Eccleston's Doctor. I got up to the two-parter of the 14 Aliens, and that was an episode, yes. But then again, there's like lots of those episodes from like a classic Doctor Who as well. So yeah, but like no fan. I will say overall I'm a fan, but it's like I need to really like rewatch the classic. Yeah.
It
Yes.
it's it's interesting because I was how old was I? I was would have been 7. In fact, I would have been 6. It aired in the early years, months of the year. But when
hmm
they rebooted Doctor Who with Eccleston,
Yeah.
obviously I was
Yes.
See, everyone says that. I seem to have that reaction a lot. Um, but yeah, I was yeah, still at primary school. So for me, that was like it was stuff I grew up with, right? Like you sort of it becomes quite integral to like just your sort of formative ideas of like sci-fi and sort of fiction and what a TV series is like. So for me, when you've got the Eccleston and Tennant years, like that's what I see as Doctor Who.
hmm
So a lot of the stuff that's come after that, like I sort of like naturally, like as you get older, your interests change, and
Yeah.
I think that sort of naturally has a bit of an impact. But for me, like because that run of Eccleston, Tennant, um, maybe I probably wouldn't even say the earlier Matt Smiths. I think just those initial seasons 1 to 4, and then the sort of specials
hmm
when Tennant was doing theatre. That's for me what Doctor Who is. If someone says like, what is Doctor Who? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, fond memories. I mean, I think as well, like when you like Eccleston is my favorite of the Doctors,
hmm
in part because the actor, I mean Tennant's fantastic as well, but Eccleston, his like persona off screen as well, like his sort of political views and the fact he's quite like openly left wing and he's
hmm
quite wouldn't say negative as such, but very
Yeah.
cynical towards the the production side of Doctor Who, which is a shame because his Doctor, in my opinion, was the show at its peak. He was very much like who I would envision as like mysterious alien who comes from a different dimension and time and stuff. He's come to be around humans and stuff. Like for me, that's who Doctor Who is. And Tennant was
hmm
fantastic, but like having I rewatched it recently, and I found myself less endeared by his interpretation of the character. Obviously, he's still fantastic, but
hmm
if I were in the universe of Doctor Who, I would like to spend time with Eccleston Doctor more than I would Tennant Doctor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that
But
does.
I'd still enjoy it. Like I still, if you sat me down, if I had the time, if you sat me down and said,
Mhm.
right, do you want to rewatch Doctor Who? I'd say, yeah, sure. So
Yeah. I mean, it's like there has been like times during like classic Doctor Who. It's just like because of a classic Doctor Who, it depends on who the writer is. Honestly, it's because like what do you have when there's not good writing in the episodes or the arcs or the serials as it is because they're always four, there's six parters or sometimes three parters. It says like then you have like the acting, which can be really good and depending on the actors as well too, or over the top, which like depending on the actor can be still entertaining at least. And then cheesy special effects, which is like some of those effects were fine for the time, but like other times it's just like, eh. So if the writing is good, like the one time like Douglas Adams wrote for Doctor Who, like the Pirate Planet, that's a great serial of like 4 episodes as well too. So many great jokes as well too. But when the writing's not good, it's a slog. Again, I like it. Even current Doctor Who 14 aliens.
yeah. See, for me, like for as much as yeah, you look back and yeah, the Slovenia a bit, yeah, when they're sort of just making whole segments around that sort of fart gag, like
Mhm.
you do naturally sort of exactly right.
True.
Like I think that's the point, isn't it? Like there's no shame in having a few bits that are more intended for the younger audience. But if the characters, like you say, if the characters are good, if it's good, if it's nice writing, then you can look past it. Like you can think, okay, well, of course it's for kids, but there's still stuff for us here as well.
Oh
Um,
yeah, when you tell them that the Doctor Who is a kids show, some Doctor Who fans like I met in America is just like, no, no, no.
well,
Hey,
that's the thing,
Phoenix.
right? If something is well written, then it doesn't matter if it's like aimed at people who are, like if you've set out with the idea of writing something for kids, you can
Mhm,
still write it in a manner that's entertaining for adults as well, right? Like,
mhm,
and Doctor Who, one of its qualities is that it's got stories which are powerful enough to captivate younger people and people who have maybe more
mhm.
mature than they were when they initially started watching it. Like
Yeah.
I remember, being very scared of the Weeping Angel episodes when I was watching it for the first time. Now that fear is not there, but you
Mhm,
can still enjoy the tension and the
mhm,
drama of episodes like Blink that are, still probably amongst the stronger episodes of the show. Like,
mhm.
it he just needs he needs a good editor, needs a leash, needs someone to sort of help
Yes.
him. But then I think that's part of the thing, isn't it? When you give someone the power to like shape the show how they want it, they're like, yes, I've got finally I can do all my great ideas, and you end up with a huge broth of just every single thought that someone's had over their entire sort of adult life, basically. And yeah, exactly right. And as well, like you've got I think when you've got just season after season after season, you've got storylines that go on and on and on. And I find one of my I think one of the reasons I find it hard to watch most of the stuff past Tenant is that the storylines, they're not like contained within an episode. It's like you've got to follow it all the way through to know what happens and to sort of to complete a segment.
Mhm.
And especially now that like I'm not a kid, I'm sort of I'm working, I've got my degree to get, like I've been studying. I've not got the time to just like dedicate so much time
Yeah.
to something that long. And I think that's not really the show's fault. Like obviously they
Mhm.
can't predict what my life's going to be like, but
Yeah.
in terms of, it has to be a really, really good story for me to invest that much time into it. And unfortunately, I don't think the latest stuff is. Having said that, I've not seen any of Jodie Whittaker. I've not seen
Mhm.
any of Nkuti Gatwa. Um, I think I can remember like one episode of Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, Matt Smith.
Mhm. Mhm.
They tend to get good actors, don't they? Like they get decent actors to more than decent. They get really good actors to be the main role. But sadly, the rest of the show, I'm
Maybe.
not sure.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. So, hey, Owen, since like you invited me on last your channel like last week to like do a panel on like the feelings of like the election. Now we have another American that you can ask those general questions to, and John Bruckman, and and Isaiah Taylor might join us later if he's on his break at work as one guy. That's why he's not joining
Who
us.
will join us later? Sorry.
Isaiah Taylor is a friend of ours.
Ah, fantastic. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
autistic
be.
black. Uh, yes.
That's a
And if
Florida. Well, it's
oh yeah.
interesting you bring up Florida because I always find. I mean, it's a good time to segue, I suppose, because I
Mhm,
always find when the election comes up for me, it's very much like you look at states like Florida and all the sort
mhm,
of the decisions that their governance, the set their Senate and their Supreme Court
mhm,
in Florida and states like Florida are taking,
mhm,
and it's horrible, right? Like
mhm.
there's no two ways about it. Like if you live in a state like that, your
Yeah,
government, the people in charge of your state are actively like making your life worse to
yeah,
um get for what a few quick bucks for the corporations that fund the party. And yeah,
yeah.
exactly, right? Like just awful politics. And so for me, like when you got an election, any election.
Yeah.
It's for as much as I would love it if there was a way to be like, well, the Democrats have such a fundamental, they're part of a system, but
Yeah.
part of a system which firstly has more scope for things not being quite as bad,
Hmm.
and secondly, not as horrendous as there's no Ron DeSantis in the Democrat Party. Um,
As far
I
as I
threw
know
it.
of, yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, there's always a few, but there's no Ron DeSantis at a statewide level making a state
Hmm.
as horrific to live in as Ron DeSantis does in Florida, or Ted Cruz.
Yes. Hmm.
Hmm. I think it's like I was saying this last week to Geek and a few others. Like it's
Hmm.
for me, I've got my head and my heart, and my
Hmm.
heart. And to be fair, I wouldn't even say my head and my heart because the head also believes in stuff the heart believes in, right? Like
Yeah.
I know the Democrats, you know, they're part of the same capitalist infrastructure. They
Yeah.
support many of the same international and domestic policies, which are part of the issue.
Hmm.
Ultimately, they're part of a wider web of wealth in politics, maintaining
Yeah.
a set of conditions. However, within the scope of that is the people who recognize that this is a political vehicle for which change is currently, like the politics exists in this structure at the moment, and use that structure to try and eke out things. And you look at blue states that are able to pass like free school meals or
Mm.
debt forgiveness or actually manage their infrastructure and transport and support green energy and stuff. And then
Hmm.
you go a few states over and it's like we're trying to get abortion banned on every single level. We're trying to gut the state of any responsibility to pay out, welfare checks or disability
Hmm.
allowance and stuff. We're trying to strike off LGBT people from even being recognised as a category to be just like even exist in society. Like, and so in terms of like the pragmatic, like what should we do right in this moment now? Like, to me, there is some like imperative needs to make sure that the party of Ron DeSantis or Greg Abbott or Marjorie
Hmm.
Kelly
Oh yeah.
Green,
Marjorie
I know what
Taylor Greene.
Taylor. Sorry, I always forget her name. Marjorie.
It's oh God. Uh. Mhm. Yes, prison. Yes. The new Jim
Hmm.
Crow with the prison systems because like it is mostly black and brown people that are in prison because of like how policing is a white supremacist institution and how they target specifically more black and brown people. In like in Baltimore, they will go to like the poor areas, which is predominantly black and brown people, and like do humbles as well too. Basically, the police just harass people and maybe arrest them for like jaywalking, basically walking while black, and then oh yeah, in like in New York, we mentioned this before about Rikers Island. There was like a inmate that like he died. He was a young black man, like oh, like teens or teenage. Yeah, and he died in prison because of the horrendous conditions in Riker Island, and he was just in a holding facility. He was not even charged of anything. Mm, mhm, right. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
It's horrendous, isn't it? Like I
Hmm.
think that's the other side of it. Like for as much as like with the Kamala Harris stuff at the moment, there
Hmm.
is like genuine like I don't know if hope's the right word, but like oh, actually, we might not lose. We might not see Trump just walk his way to another election. We might not
Yeah.
see Republicans have like basically the free reign to implement their full Project 2025 plan. But
Hmm.
equally, people like I'm forgetting what all these names are. Mayor of New York is Adams, right?
Eric Adams. Oh yeah, you John Brockman. You've been muted to this stream audience since the entire time. Wow.
All
no,
right,
but
and now you
that
can
means no
hear me.
one.
I've been making excellent points. I have been quoting Plato, and I have not been doing stochastic terrorism. It has been beautiful.
No, you were doing that sarcastic terrorism one time, so they honest missed that point, but they missed like other points they were making about like the prison system. So that's how I
Yes.
got on the prison system as well too, because like the like in places like New York, like they got some like pretty decent like social justice, social democracy sort of things, but they also have the prison system. So
Yeah,
that's
they're
what's all right.
SOCDEMs. They are.
Yeah,
Uh...
and hey,
It's
Jones, repeat. Go ahead.
like it's just it's exactly that. Like you look, it's why it's so important to not treat the Democrats as like a oh this is ideal. This is like a savior party. These guys are gonna beat Trump and then we've won. We're done. We can sort of kick
Yeah.
back and relax.
They're a band-aid
Which
on a bullet wound.
exactly right. Like it's yeah. You need the bandage to not die and bleed out, but
Mhm.
if you don't go to the hospital and see what's actually severely wrong, the heart of the issue, then you may as well not put a bandage on. Um, and I think it's why there's such a dissonance to me, like or like a dichotomy of like, okay, we've got such a great opportunity here to beat Trump. Or I say got a pressing opportunity, not great, a pressing opportunity to actually like s- stop what's very obviously a fascist party trying to implement their idea of society. But
Mhm.
the cause of that fascism, or one of the causes, is the conditions created by the capitalist system that has been around for what decades, centuries.
Mm-hmm.
The long-term faults of neoliberalism, of the privatization of our social resources, the
Mhm.
commodification of our social existence, the constant
Mhm.
constant need for profit to be driven out of every single orifice in society
Yeah.
leads
And the
to a society where
gamification of all of this
Yeah.
exactly
shit.
right, like it's an unhealthy way to have a society, and it's only going to lead to more um you know pressing conditions and issues later on down the line. But the fear part of it is fear of the Democrat Party. I don't believe that every single person in the party is happy with the status quo and happy with what's going on. But because of how it's set up, it's like there's no political like space or capital to say actually we need bigger changes than what we're offering. The guy who does that gets like shut down from
Oh yeah.
being able to
Oh yeah.
like run for anything. Like
Oh,
so it's
Sometimes the
like
Democrats will run someone against that person.
hmm,
yeah.
I think that was
Like in
West
the
Virginia.
DNC. Yeah, it was an interesting. Like in the DNC that just happened this past week and something like that. There was protests outside of the DNC, just like there was protests outside the RNC, but there's bigger protests outside the DNC because the Democrats are in charge. If anyone is like, why have they been protesting the DNC? They should have protested local candidates. It's like, yeah, but the Democrats right now in charge in executive office, and they're the ones that are doing the policies, foreign policies for like what's happening in Gaza and Palestine right now. And so there were in the speeches, there's like a couple of mentions of Palestine from Kamala Harris, but then almost in the same breath, she
Did
also
she actually
said
mention Palestine, or did she call it
Gaza.
the illegal occupation of Gaza by the settler colonial government? I
She did she the Kamala Harris and Democrats and people that were allowed to speak were basically doing the Democratic version of thoughts and prayers that the Thugglins do after every mass shooting.
mm-hmm.
They'll express sympathy to the Palestinian people, but yet in terms of actually doing policies or anything like that, they either the campaigns has not stated what their policies are,
We'll
or they're
support our fraternal fascist brothers.
yeah, I think the White House already just approved like a $26 million like sales of arms to like Israel like this past weekend or something like that. And also there was a lot of there like the uncommitted movement in the primaries where like they get this significant amount of votes, and so there were many uncommitted like delegates as well too, and they were commissioning or like petitioning for like the DNC to like have a Palestinian speaker on the DNC, and they were not allowed to speak. Not like a radical like anarchist like Molotov cocktail saying like Israel must burn, but
I'm
no, these
afraid a brown person is by definition radical.
there's yeah, you can say that. But like no, they were just these were moderate Democrats that just want like the mention of the genocide being happen and want to be able to speak on that genocide is happening. There was progress in that like there was a panel the DNC, and they allow many like doctors that were in Gaza treating patients to tell the stories and stuff like that. Unfortunately, when one woman was presenting and like reading off the names of like the children that had died or like are the lone survivor of their family, there were some Democrats that were la 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 la, and it's just like, oh come on, just like
You're
that's
talking
what's
about
frustrating.
10,000 dead children, and they're tell me they didn't actually have their fingers in their ears?
There were some Democrats and like delegates that were plugging their ears and didn't want to hear it. Basically, like see no evil, hear no evil, something like that. But also,
It's
yeah,
treated like a I think
annoyance.
you mentioned gamification earlier, John. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost as though every single like political bit of news is treated like is it for our side or against our side? Is it going to help us in the polls or go against us in the polls?
yes,
And if it goes against them, then there's just like, oh, we can't talk about it, can't discuss it. And that's true of both parties. That's sort of a
agreed.
consequence of the idea of like debate isn't so much how can we help work out what's best for society, but it's
Mhm.
like who scores the most points, who's going to look the best at the end of it, and we go
Yeah,
from there. And like on social media, for instance, the posts that politicians put out are never like, let's have a nice discussion, let's air public views. It will
mhm.
always be um this person said this, but I say this is why it's better. Like there's never like a proper conversation. And I'm not saying that there must be. I'm certainly not saying let's go and debate like John the Nazi to. Sorry, John. I'm not sure why you're not should be using your name as an example.
No, no,
So
John is the
there's
name, you know. Once upon a time it was
um
Jack, that's what we got, Jackass. Once upon a time it was Tom, Dick, and Harry.
but you know what I mean? Like they can't. Like I'm not suggesting like we go and talk to any old person, but
Mhm.
because of the way debate is used in political theatre,
Mhm.
there's no platform for it, which leads to the horrible scenes of politicians and media figures covering areas like this, walking
Mhm.
past the protesters. And I think as well, especially with like Palestine, like the issue
Mhm.
um really stems with the fact that people are just really concerned. Like people are so concerned about losing this election to
Yeah,
Trump that there's a lot of people who don't want to talk about it whatsoever for fear that it will decrease the odds of
Hmm.
Democrats winning and make them lose. And
It
I
is
think
the
that
third rail, you know.
it's
yeah.
I find it so. I mean, firstly, it's just disgusting anyway, right? Because a genocide is happening, and
Mhm.
like you're more like, regardless of what else is
Yeah,
happening,
but the
like
people who are
it's just a
committing the genocide were once genocided, so that makes it um okay.
it's. I mean, that you can. In my degree, I'm linking like sociology, but like I'm sort of studying education.
Mhm.
And so the teaching of World War II I find particularly interesting because
Yeah,
I find a lot of the problem with it is that it treats it almost like makes it into a bit of a fairy tale where it's like, oh,
yeah.
one day you would almost believe that the Nazis just appeared from like a crack in the earth and that they had to be beaten like how you'd beat Bowser
Yeah,
in
they
Mario,
were
like
the
Yeah,
orcs coming out of Mordor. They
exactly right.
happened.
Like there's
yeah.
no you don't have a sociological analysis of World War II and where
Mhm.
fascism came from,
Yeah.
how these things manifest in society. And so people have learned that the Nazis were bad as like a past tense. Oh,
Mhm.
they were these bad guys we beat, and now society healed and is better. And
Mhm.
so through that by proxy, um, there's like a almost I think the state of Israel and the government of Israel almost utilize this to some degree, like because people know that the Nazis targeted and killed Jewish people,
Hmm.
um, and so because Israel has the Star of David it's on its flag and is sort of known as the state in which Jews can go and live,
Mhm.
it's
Well,
people
some
aren't
Jews.
that. But exactly right, not Palestinian Jews, not anyone who's
Right.
Not
Jewish that
brown
has
skinned
criticized
Jews.
the state.
Not every,
Exactly, like
yeah.
um, because they have because there's not enough literacy around how genocide works, how the
Yeah.
Holocaust happened, how
Yeah.
Nazism isn't just some magical fantasy evil, but like a
Mhm.
real threat of fascism that can manifest in any society
Mhm.
if the right social conditions are there. People are reluctant almost or unable to properly identify what is happening in Palestine without framing it in a previous conflict's logic and rhetoric. And there's so much bad faith actors who like you look at the language of like the KKK
Mhm.
or of various far right groups in America who
Mhm.
also you genuinely have anti-Semitic ideas and attitudes, and so will naturally criticize Israel, but then who get to try and sneak their awful, insidious rhetoric alongside genuine, legitimate criticisms of Israel, which makes it like, you imagine you're like a somewhat out of touch Democrat who maybe doesn't use social media as regularly as we all do, and basically a post that says like, oh, Israel's doing these bad things. Maybe it's got like a red cross through the Israeli flag. Their knowledge of this issue will come from like 30, 40 years ago, where the people saying that might have been like David Duke and his chapter of the KKK, or might have been some neo-Nazi skinhead group which has gone to attack a synagogue. So there's a lot of illiteracy around the issue, which then is not helped by social media being basically a cesspit in 2024. And because there is the legitimate fear of Trump winning the election, they're like, oh, we can't touch this issue, we can't talk about it. I think this, and I'll try and wrap up what I'm saying because I don't want to drown you out of the conversation.
Well, don't worry. We just go like this show is all just like several different long tangents as well too. It's also like that. So don't worry. Finish
the thing where we opened up with a 10-minute discussion of Doctor Who is not unusual.
Yes, we're all neurospicy here.
But I think it's so important to protest and to keep the Palestinian, I'm not calling it Palestinian issue, but it should be nice and clear: the genocide of Palestinians, the war crimes that the state of Israel is committing on a daily basis in Palestine right now. That should be at the front of the conversation, not only because it's a moral right, but also because if you don't speak about it, then the Democrats aren't part of the reason Harris and Walz have had a bit of a boost in the polls since Biden stepped down, or not stepped down. Biden said he wasn't going to stand for a re-election. Is because there's a perception that this presidency might be more receptive to listening to voters, might be more in tune with younger voters, and be more willing to take on Republicans, and sort of it's like why the weird thing has sort of taken off quite a lot, because if you're calling the actions of Republicans out by saying it's weird, then you've actually acknowledged that they're not just like when Biden's going like, oh, the country needs a good Republican Party to be part of the system. It's like, well, have you seen what they're doing? Like they're not good. They're really not doing anything worthwhile. So when Harris and Walz are saying like, actually these guys are not fit for office, it's like recognition that yes, actually there is something quite wrong with this party. So
it's refreshing to hear that.
I think
it is, because I hate that liberal impulse to no. We need a right and a far right.
But if you keep the issue active and present, it's like at someone in that meeting has to say, actually, if we're not going to speak about Palestine and stuff, then we're gonna it's something they're gonna have to talk about. And I think it would be wrong to believe that Harris is going to just suddenly say to Israel, right, we're going to have peace talks, we're going to fix all the issues right here and now. I think it's realistic to sort of we can't put all our faith in the Democrat Party. But if you make sure your voice is heard and keep protesting and keep being present, it forces them to have to consider it, to have to make sure that is still an option. And I think as well, a lot of it, like I said earlier, I don't believe there's some people in that party who 100% are the same war hawk category that you'd consider lots of Republicans in. There's some who cannot wait to say to their their sort of military lobbyists, yes, we're going to secure another $100 million contract for you to bomb, to put your bombs
we
into
are going
Israeli
to
planes.
use Palestinians as guinea pigs for your weapons.
Exactly, right? There's absolutely some of that in the Democrat Party. However, I think there's I know she gets a lot of stick from some people on within left wing circles and stuff, but I think people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I do believe aren't of the same background as some of the Democrats from sort of the last 30, 40 years, and would say more if they felt they had the political capital to be able to do so. That's no excuse. I'm not saying that it's right, but I feel as though if the noise is there and the volume is there from people around the Democrat Party to say, actually, you need to do more to stop this,
Hmm.
then it makes it more likely for people within the Democratic Party to be like, actually, let's do something about it.
Yeah. As George RP brought up in the live chat, it might be more easier to protest against Harris than like a Trump. I do agree.
1 billion%. I was speaking to a guy called Rico Baker,
Hmm.
who was meant to be on our last Stream Geek, but sadly had
Yep.
to drop out.
Hmm.
Who is he formerly served with the army. And
Mm.
so when the Black Lives Matter protests were happening, Trump wanted obviously the reaction of the police to these protests was not great.
Mm.
Trump wanted far more violence and action of varying legal consequences to be taken against these protesters.
Hmm.
And was, he wanted the army to get involved. He wanted much more involvement from armed forces. He
I
was told
mean,
no.
under Trump, border police were riding down and whipping refugees.
Hmm.
There is a worse party.
100%,
Yeah.
billion%. And the idea that you look at the stuff that the Project 2025 has installed, where it essentially gives the divine right of kings to the president. It like, can you imagine a protest happens and Trump says, all right, in you come, army, let's send in the tanks, let's,
Hmm.
disappear off these protesters to some prison. Don't have to tell you which one. We've got rid of all the
He he
any
sent it.
I
existing rights.
mean,
He sent it the
over the issue
right
of Palestine, we've already
Yeah.
had like half a dozen Tiananmen squares, but
Yeah.
under Trump, we would have them every fucking week.
True.
Mm.
Uh.
Like,
Yeah, I think like the Donald Trump, like you said, in like riot cops to clear a church shows that he can do a photo op as well
Mm-hmm.
too. Um,
Tear gas, so we could do a photo op.
tear
Where he
gas, yeah,
held the
yeah.
Bible upside down.
It's, but also, but like the one thing I want to mention, going back to like how the education, how we're taught about World War II for sure. I can speak from the context of the USA, and yeah, it's all about the Holocaust and like what's happened to the Jews. But what I learned later in life as an adult is that like it wasn't just the Jews that the Nazis targeted; it was like disabled people that they
Mm-hmm.
definitely targeted. They're
The Jews
firstly
were
leftists.
literally half of the Holocaust.
Yes, exactly. Certainly like political
I mean,
leftists as
that
well
is
too.
disproportionate in the
Yes,
extreme.
it is. Agreed.
But
Yes, yeah. But queer people too were targeted.
mm,
Even to like, I was like doing a charity thing in like a few years ago for the Transgender Law Center as well too. And one of our participants, one of our streamers, and we were all like trans or like non-binary as well too. But some of us did not even know about the history of the pink triangle that the Nazis used to like label someone as like homosexual, queer, and yep, they were certainly targeted. I mean, it's like how many right wingers did not know about like the burning of like transgender and like LGBTQIA plus literature at colleges as well too, and until we bring it up as well too, Roma people as well, like Phoenix I mentioned. So it's like, yeah, that's why I think like education is very important in that way, and like in how like it's
I
especially
don't know.
how
That's
like
super depressing. Could we just listen to Lee Greenwood? How we're proud to be an American.
yeah.
it's exactly that, right? Like, it's if your only takeaway from the Second World War is that the bad Germans did bad things and then were beaten by the good Allies, like,
Mm.
then you've missed so much of the, as you say, the swaths of society that the Nazis targeted. The fact that fascism was present in not just Germany but in every nation in Europe at this time. That the
The
racism of
only
the Germans
reason,
was
just the only reason we fought them is because they attacked us first. Otherwise, we would have left them the fuck alone. We loved them.
Hmm.
Hitler learned many of his techniques for the Holocaust from the American treatment of the Native
Mm.
American
Oh
population,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
segregation that was still very much in place in the US at the time,
We
the
sent our
history of
eugenicists
empire.
over there so they could hunt Jews by searching through Bibles and stuff to
Hmm.
find,
It's
who's got the skeleton hidden in their closet. It's.
Hmm.
I
like
mean, Manifest Destiny led directly to Lebensraum.
Yeah.
exactly, like it's it is just, it is depressing ultimately, which I think is also why people don't like to teach this would require a
Mm.
major sort of, it would take society to say, actually, we're going to do this, we're going to have like almost like like how America was meant to have reconstruction, and obviously it
Hmm.
didn't quite work out because it didn't really properly, after the Civil War, like, they didn't follow through with it enough, and the southern states
Mm.
Yeah.
basically got, they were able to not have
It
to
was
really
a
do it
decade of
properly.
terrorism, and eventually the
Yeah,
North gave up. It would take a global truth and reconciliation commission.
100%. Like it, and that's the other reason I think that why it's important to for the Republicans not to win this election. For as much as the international order is a capitalist order, and there's 100% faults with NATO and the UN, and God knows how many issues with like NAFTA and the EU and all these different like trade deals which are blatantly just capitalism. Like America is still a part of that system, and if Trump is in charge of America and his Republican lawmakers, can you imagine the carnage is going to happen when like just no interest in international cooperation. Every act is basically done to make more money for themselves. You got Trump. What was it he said last time about trying to annex Greenland? It's just things like that, right?
No, he wanted to buy it. He's a capitalist. But when it comes to any political conversation, Trump will just walk in, knock over the table, mostly because it's just sort of there. Like he did by moving the embassy to Jerusalem, because Israel.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll do something like that to NAFTA. He'll walk in and say, yeah, no, America. Fuck you, Mexico. And he'll piss on the Mexican flag.
Yeah.
Actively. It's like the ramifications of that are essentially, and obviously, an emboldened far right across the globe, which I think shouldn't be like, for as much as, like the Democrat Party aren't the saviors, there is something to be said about like people like Nigel Farage in the UK, Marine Le Pen in France.
No, his name is he's pronounced Nigel Farage. That's something that Mistral said.
But like Bolsonaro, all the various far right actors in the world at the moment, like them
at least they're circumspect.
Like just them having their like egos deflated a bit and facing a setback that obviously it's not going to defeat them all. It's not going to be like, yes, we've won, we're finished forever now. But every setback should be seen as a victory. Every moment that fascism is not 100% here is success. And them being less emboldened means less violence against marginalized people, less bad faith actors in government writing awful laws, more chance of pushing. I know pushing people left isn't exactly like an end goal, but you're more likely to have a victory on like
enable
rights.
The possibility of the left.
Exactly, right? Like we're not going to be getting hunted and shot in the streets for like wanting a living wage or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I think it sounds hyperbolic, but I mean, Trump's a billionaire. He doesn't like workers. He's not gonna be very tolerant of striking.
And the fact is that they do kind of hunt and shoot people in the streets if they're brown.
Yeah, they
or
just have
protesting
to
in
that.
favor of Palestine.
Yeah, exactly. It's now one. Yeah, so like, and listening back to like the episodes this week on It Could Happen Here about them reporting on the DNC, because we're a lot of those guys are there. The one thing that was like conservative that they saw is that like when Joe Biden spoke, a couple of delegates, no, they were actually our delegates, like Democrat delegates. So they're not like outsiders that somehow snuck in. No, they're actually part of the Democrat Party. When Joe Biden was speaking, they unfurl a huge banner saying like "Stop arming Israel, stop arming Israel." So a protest against like Joe Biden. And there were a lot of other delegates that quickly, some of them even tried to wrestle the banner out of the delegates' hands as well too. But others started like show up, block the banner by having signs of "We love you, Joe. We love you, Joe," or "Thank you, Joe." And apparently they had those like signs ready because there was a Florida delegate that was handing more signs to continue blocking the thing. And when the delegates were trying to say "Stop arming Israel," there were others that were joining the chance to drown them out of saying "Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe," or something like that. And I like what Robert said. It's like, it's not that the Democrats are fascism. We should not do that false equivalence, because fascism means something. But the Democrats, at least for a lot of them, that's authoritarianism, because they're blocking and silencing protests like that.
Scratch a liberal and fascist bleeds.
Yeah.
They lead there even if they don't mean to.
Yeah.
It's to some extent, you could argue, and I'm sure some people will wince a little bit, but you can argue that all capitalism is some degree of fascism, just like turned down if you're not just like,
it is necessarily authoritarian.
Exactly, right? Like at core, you've made a system where you put a price on water, housing, energy. Like, it's act, and you've got your idols in your big business. You've got your police as your force. You know, you've got all the ingredients there. It's just that fascism turns the hob on and heats it up and cooks it into the fascism we saw, you know, in Nazi Germany. Just sorry, I've just seen him as Ronald Reagan date of death.
And that's another thing about those like show is that like John Brockman will just,
I like to put up memes.
He likes to put up memes. And it's like, yeah. Remember, Ronald Reagan's graveyard is a gender neutral bathroom.
Don't take bathroom advice from a podcast.
And I'm sure I'm going to hell, as we talked about in our last just Alchemy, the Patreon show, and something like that. I'm just going to go to hell. I'm a queer person. There's some version of someone's religion where I'm going to hell for something like that. I'm also an atheist, so I'm not a believer.
I'm pretty sure the Greeks would be okay with you.
Probably the Greeks would be okay with me. Yeah, I can definitely see that. But if I am going to hell, I'm going to hell. Oh, wait. Mentioned to...
Unless you take it up the butt.
Oh, right.
To be honest, if you went to heaven and it was just like Ted Cruz and Mike Huckabee, Bill O'Reilly,
dude, I mean, I don't have a trash can here. Warn me.
Can you imagine? Like you get there and you just like, what would they even do? Like their whole life is just like posting about how much they hate everything.
Well, I'm pretty sure in their version of heaven they have billions of people to literally walk on.
Oh, dude. But yeah, like
go ahead.
What was I saying? I saw Ronald Reagan's just distracted me. He's,
I have completely forgotten too. Jonathan was talking about going to hell.
Yes, well, and if I do go to hell, I'm going to kill Ronald Reagan, march the chapter all over again.
Oh,
but like, but also it's like mentioned last time on the Just Alchemy, Lord Twain has this quote: "I will go to heaven for the accommodations, but I'll go to hell for the company."
Mm-hmm. Him and Walt Whitman.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah,
Walt Whitman was a poet. I don't know if you.
It's leaves of grass. Yeah. Well, we'll put
you never can know if somebody knows ancient American celebrities.
Granted, my knowledge of ancient. I'm not that sophisticated because my knowledge of Mr. Whitman comes from Breaking Bad.
His Leaves of Grass is pretty goddamn leftist. It includes a poem about washing a runaway slave's feet before sending him on his way.
Oh, wow. Well, to be fair, lots of literature, from the last few centuries has got a left-wing. I think to be able to write something profound and to be able to create art and media that has something to say, to some degree, it has to be a bit critical. And if you're going to be critical of society, then what are you criticizing, right? Capitalism, hierarchy. For a long time, monarchies and empire, so it's going to skew a little bit left. Like, I think the only thing is,
I think something about creativity, being able to create.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like to have the foresight and the wherewithal to be able to look at society and make something interesting. Like, not saying it's impossible for right-wing people, but it takes a certain ability to reflect and take criticism that I don't think exists as freely on the right. Like you look at even the actors who are in Hollywood who are like more right wing and aren't as liberal and stuff, like they do well for a bit and then they can't bite the tongue anymore and they start saying stuff and then suddenly all their projects end up like like cynical and bad. Like
Kevin Sorbo, Adam Carolla.
Kevin Sorbo, like. Have you seen God's Not Dead or any of those?
No, I've not seen it. I'm aware of it to an unfortunate degree.
Yeah,
because like you watch it and it's like it doesn't take place in the same reality as like what we know as reality. Like it takes place in a world entirely constructed with the mindset of right-wing people, or in this case, like religious fundamentalists are the correct way of society, and everyone else is like a failed Christian or or like a heathen or someone just like an objectively bad person. Like Kevin Sorbo's character in that film is like an atheist professor, and he's
who's forcing people to step on Jesus.
Well, that's the thing. Like he in this film's universe, his class is like like religious studies or something, or like philosophy, and so he makes all his people. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so all his students have to write "God is dead" on a bit of paper, and so the main character is a Christian. He doesn't do it, and so then from that point on, Kevin Sorbo's mission is to like fail this student, and to like they have like a debate. They have like the class turns into Kevin Sorbo versus this one student. The student obviously wins, and then Kevin Sorbo gets hit by a car and dies.
Because he had to be redeemed, and redemption equals death. And of course, the only reason he's an atheist is because God took his wife.
It's ridiculous, right? And like we look at that and think, my goodness, like what is this film? And I think even most Christians would look at that and think this is not very good.
But not right
when
far right.
Exactly, right? If you're part of the if you're part of the group in society that has embedded right-wing ideas into like your whole like life and being, it's good because it supports the things that you already believe in, right? Like it's like you look at like right-wing social media and half the people on there, like all the sort of the big figures, I doubt they're not supported because like they're particularly endearing. They're just like the approved cult the approved flavor.
I don't know. Actually, if you look at Kevin Sorbo outside of those right-wing Christian projects, he actually seems like a decent guy, apart from his right-wing Christian nationalism.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? He's part of the group now, so he has to just like he has to treat things like.
Who? Oh, who is this guy?
Isaiah Taylor.
He's taking a break from work to join us. Hi, Isaiah.
Isaiah Taylor.
Who's this other black guy here? I thought I was supposed to be a black guy.
Yeah. We found a British token. Sorry.
Okay.
I mean, we're 50% now, Isaiah. So technically, we're
I believe the Great Replacement has occurred.
It's multiple stuff, and not the cookie, but like the cream pie Oreo. It's like then the white people just.
I believe that's a moon pie. I don't know if they have those over in the UK.
Anyhow, nice to meet you, Isaiah. How are you?
You too, man. Nice to meet you.
So Isaiah, what have you been up to? What do you want to talk about now you joined the show?
Okay, well, first of all, no, I have not I have not done it with that girl I'm talking to, so don't ask.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't going to out because otherwise it would give me a little too much information.
No, we're still talking on Instagram, so we're still doing that.
Like I said, he's our baby autistic boy, so he's still working on stuff like that.
Yeah, although it's not really it's not hard to talk to women when you're autistic, at least not for me.
It's hard to be normal.
Yeah. Define normal, though.
What's normal?
Exactly right.
Well, what's normal? Because I see a lot of stuff black folks do, and I'm like, I don't want to do any of that shit. So what's normal?
I read the article on my Twitch stream as well too on the word normal. And as I mentioned before, like so the history word normal as it applies to people, that's word too. Yeah, the spoiler warning, it all goes to eugenics. As of course it always does.
Well, if everything was normal, we won't have a universe. So there has to be imperfectness in the universe.
That's actually a really awesome quote. I like that.
I think that's that's really profound, actually, isn't it?
Stephen Hawking said that. Hey, Stephen Hawking, talk to him. Oh, he's dead.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we can't talk to Stephen Hawking anymore because yes, he is dead. I guess no, that was like I'm gonna make a joke there, but I realized like nope, better stop there.
Tell me the joke.
I mean, sometimes I do like to make fun of his voice. The Milky Way.
His chair was his liberation.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to make fun of the guy because he was disabled. So
Yeah, that's where my mind was going, and I thought, nope, I should stop there because I don't want to be ableist as well too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great point, though, right? Like the what is normal? Like most of human society, most of human history has been very like if you want to look at normal, it's like what death, warfare. Avoidable illness, conflict, like so the idea that a bit of change is such a bad thing probably is a bit unfounded because like it's only in the last like 150 years or so that we've like eradicated diseases, given most people human rights,
most people
ended slavery, and most of what it's what are we saying?
I mean, Christianity isn't normal. because only 1 out of 7 people are Christian.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like see, being autistic, it's kind of fun, like looking at the NT world, because it's like you get up, you go to work, then you come home, and like but it's like there's really nothing to do after that because everything on TV is garbage. It's either sport, reality TV,
And you are attacking the most popular things ever. Next, you're going to attack beer and porn.
It's just like, what's so fun about this? Oh, let's watch a show where like women are beating each other up. You know, they'll never show a show. They'll never show a show with men doing that. It's like,
That's boxing and football.
Yes. And
American
WWE.
football or rugby.
Yes.
Or actually European football.
No.
I'm like, I'd rather get home from work, you know, if I got paid, order some DoorDash, get stoned, and watch the X-Files. That's a good night for me.
The X-Files, actually, it's funny you bring that up because I thought about it earlier. We started this conversation off talking about Doctor Who. I've got a lot of thoughts on the X-Files. My dad and I watched it when I was for years actually.
Like
we have
4 to 3, 7 months maybe.
It took us years. Like we had Sky Atlantic show like American shows, obviously in the UK. And we had like if they aired episodes of it weekly, and we were watching it like sort of fairly regularly. Then I had my exams, so we stopped for ages, and we had to catch up on a big backlog. And I found it very interesting because it's great. Like I've got a real one of my favorite. I wouldn't say one of my favorite shows, but like I really enjoyed watching it. But I almost feel like there's more bad seasons of the X-Files than there are good seasons of the X-Files at this point.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
Well, what's his name? Chris Cartwright was riding by the seat of his pants and making it up as he went along. So you got this sort of kudzu plot of bullshit. You could never live up to it.
I'll say like after like the first movie, they should have stopped it.
Yeah, I agree.
Or at least like after the first, like, the Fight the Future one where they like, they kind of like did a Tim McVeigh blow up a federal building at the beginning of the movie kind of thing. I'm just like, after that they should have just been like, okay, it was a good run, it's time to end the show. But they kept going till 2001, and then they rebooted it in like 2016, and these people are like,
they should have just had Gillian Anderson make out with Jodie Whittaker and run away in the TARDIS. I mean,
the reboot was horrendous. I really couldn't get behind the new seasons. Like they're not. I feel like it wasn't even like Mulder and Scully. It was just like they dangled a big check in front of David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson and just like had them do whatever first came. Like some of the stuff in those episodes is dire.
Yeah, and then like it. Like in the very later season, they brought in Robert Patrick. What was it? Doggett? They brought in him.
Yeah. I thought it was what's it?
So X-Files has
Annabeth Gish. It was they brought in Reyes, Robert Patrick's partner, and she was like she was evil. She bought into the government conspiracy. She was like part of the. She was bad. Like I think that's what's frustrating, isn't it? Like you follow a story for so long, and then suddenly it's like, well, actually, we've 180'd on the things we established already. Like Mulder now believes it's all a hoax after all these years. Like it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I agree with like John brought up and Chris. The individual episodes of X-Files, those are the standalone ones. Those are some of the best ones. It is a general monster of the week, but that's what's so compelling as well too. But like the story arcs of the government conspiracy, I don't know if like Chris Carter had a clear plan of where he was going.
No, this is actually this has been acknowledged. He didn't know what he was doing. He was just doing things every week, letting it go where it did. The fans ran with it, and there's no way he could live up to it.
I agree. Yeah,
it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird because like I often like joke and said that I wouldn't find a girl who likes the stuff that I do, but it's like the X-Files, Star Trek.
Oh, there are so many weird girls out there. You have no idea. Tumblr.
I know.
Tumblr, dude. Go to Tumblr.
She got me into League of Legends Arcade, which I really like. It's really,
I heard that like a lot of good things about the show, and but one thing about like League of Legends Arcane, yes, it's based off of the video game League of Legends. But the thing about that show, you don't need to know or have played League of Legends to like enjoy that
X
show.
Files
Because...
would make such a good collectible card game.
I can see that.
What about an X-Files Monopoly? They need to do something like that.
I
Oh.
bet there is, because like once the patent ran out on like the Monopoly game, anyone can make a Monopoly as well too. There's Barbie Monopoly, My Little Pony Monopoly,
Star Trek Monopoly, Star Wars Monopoly.
yes. So X-Files Monopoly, let's see if that's happened. There was like an X-Files video game in like on PlayStation 2.
Oh, there was every kind of shitty video game back in the 90s. There was a Buffy video game.
And naughties and teens.
Yes. Yes.
How would you? What would be what's your Mayfair then in X-Files Monopoly? What's like the most expensive property going to be?
Ooh.
I would
Area
say,
51.
yeah, either 51, or if the aliens actually colonize the planet, maybe the White
Florida.
House. I don't know.
That is that what the aliens would do then? They'd keep the White House as like the hub, or do you think they'd establish their own like?
No, everything is about America, and the White House is central to that, so yes.
Yeah, basically.
Unless it's Star
Although-
Trek, in which case it's London. And
Yes.
Well, if it's Star Trek, it'll be San Francisco, because isn't that where like Starfleet is?
I think so, yeah.
I think so. They definitely did that for the whale one.
Yes.
Although the president's office isn't France.
Real quick, Isaiah, try not to
Yeah.
cover your mouth or rub your lips while you're talking.
Because, like, we're
you're
yeah.
mumbling a bit when you do that.
Oh, okay.
And your microphone's not that great because it is your phone
It's your
microphone
phone,
as well
yeah.
too. Yeah, so it's like it will be hard to hear you if you're covering your mouth like this as well too. Just
I mean, I
remember
get
that.
we all have our things.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an autism thing like this.
Oh yeah, it's steaming. We understand. Yeah, yeah.
We get it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Play
Thanks
with
for
your
the tip.
penis or something.
Oh, yes. Again.
I mean, if you're looking at your head, we can't see your penis. We can't tell you're playing with it.
It's just so just like the newscasters are not wearing pants as well too, or how pants is optional for toll booth operators.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Love the information.
We go off on some wild fucking tangents here. Sorry.
What do you do? Like, what's your calling in life?
Well, it's a good question because I'm not sure yet. So I'm currently studying I'm getting a degree in sociology, just in first year.
PhD. Yes.
Well, PhD's later on down the line. I've got to get my undergrad degree, then I have to get a master's, and then I can do my PhD.
Oof.
So a few steps to go yet before that, but
Yeah.
but you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
But
Good. Yeah.
I work. What's
I was gonna say I graduated from school, high school, and college, and
Nice.
I like to say that I'm just unique. There's really no place for me in this world, so I'm just doing custodial work.
And making really awesome cosplay and
Yes.
screenplays.
yes.
Are you're a writer? Oh, how fantastic! What sort of stuff do you write?
Oh, well, so I haven't worked on it recently, but I'm actually writing a story about moth. So the insect, the moth, right?
Yeah.
Where they feed on some chemical waste from a chemical weapon, and then they mutate to then eat human flesh.
Oof, I do like horror, so that does sound very interesting.
Yeah,
so-
you shall have to keep me updated on that because
Yeah.
I'm very picky with my horror, but I'm up for anything.
So this is like horror from like
The 90s.
so like like the late 80s, early 90s had some of those B movie like creature features.
Mhm.
It's something like that. It's very similar.
Tremors, Twister, Armageddon, Titanic. Isaiah's filmography, if you know James Cameron.
Yeah, or there's Clueless, Mean Girls, and stuff like that. John, tell Owen all about who I am.
He
He is A 1993 white girl.
Interesting. Yeah, to be fair, I mean, I think there's no like the older I get, the more I sort of think there's no like what you like, right? Like there's no
Yeah.
life's too short to worry about what's a proper thing to like anything.
Yeah.
Like there's no
Yeah, I don't judge.
When he
I don't-
finishes his Moth movie, it will be Heathers and Mean Girls with a moth.
Okay, now seeing that as like a cast of like the Moth movie, that'll be interesting. But it's just like a cast of like high school girls, white girls, like that are like in a horror movie.
Ooh,
Wait,
The
I
Craft.
actually saw. It's no. Oh, that's an.
Well,
But I was.
well, I mean, weren't there like the Slumber Party Massacre movies that came out in like
Oh, that
during
was the
80s?
mid '80s, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of what that was, right?
But no, I was thinking it's like no, I actually went to the movie theater to saw this like little independent movie that didn't get much like played in movie theaters, but like called Assassination Nation, and I thought it was fantastic. But it's basically like a bunch of high school girls that were basically sorry in a horror movie as well too, and it was an effective horror movie, a slasher. But what's kind of unique about it? Like I don't think they were all white girls, but one of them was trans, and like the YouTuber Dixie Fears, she loved that movie that year because like she finally saw herself. She's now in the movie because there is a trans girl in as high school girls, and like, and so she finally felt to be seen, which shows an importance like to all you fucking like.
And that is
reactionaries
why
about this.
Hollywood needs to be destroyed, because the Jews are using the gays to use the
Oh,
blacks
shut
to
up, John
destroy
Brockman.
America.
You are anti-Semitic, yeah.
He's jokingly anti-Semitic, so John Brockman, we need because it's a cat, we need to skid a spray bottle on him as well too.
Although, to be fair, I think we're all anti-Semitic here because we support a ceasefire and are anti-genocide and that.
Yes, we can't be accused of being anti-Semitic
Yeah.
because we are anti-Zionist and anti-Israel as well too. Yeah, well, at least I can always speak for myself. Oh, McDonald, you're our guest here, so it's like you can express your stance for what there are.
I think we're fair to say that we've got fairly similar views on it all, geek.
Yeah.
So should I be calling you Jonathan? Should I be calling you what would you rather I call you? I feel like
It doesn't matter.
He's
either
all
way.
over the place on that.
Yeah,
I've always from my interactions.
He, they,
with,
John Geek.
I've always I've always we actually it's been years actually we've known each other, Geek, isn't it?
yeah,
Like,
it's
been
like 6 years at least or 7 years.
If you look at the stream, you'll see a little flower in the lower right-hand corner of his thing. That's a Scarlet Pimpernel.
Yes.
Because I call him the Scarlet Pimpernel of leftism because he's fucking everywhere.
Yeah, I did mention that story the last week on McDonald's stream that like yeah, John Brockman, you were just like I'm gonna check out this like stream between old McDonald and Advantage.
you
in all of these streams.
look, and no matter what leftist stream you look in, there's the geek in the comments.
and we should be on more, to be honest, because he's a fabulous person. To be honest,
Yep. Oh yeah.
if this flower you've put on the video is very common, it must be it's a very pretty flower. Like it's
It's the Scarlet Pimpernel from the there's a old novels from like early 20th century about unfortunately a nobleman who leaves it as his calling card as he runs around and does Zorro type stuff.
Yeah.
But he's
But no,
everywhere. Nobody knows who he is.
Well, and all the better for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was so I started I wouldn't say I do YouTube as such, but like I ventured online and the first I went to Manchester University initially.
I'm sorry.
Shut up, John Brockman.
Manchester. I mean, it's Manchester.
It's a joke. John Brockman likes to be anti-Manchester and go like Mithril.
I pretend Mithril's from Manchester.
But continue on, Owen.
No, that's right. So now Manchester started. I can't remember if I went to a few political societies and like someone said, oh, why don't you have a look online, why don't you do a few bits, and being a sort of I'm happy to give things a go, really. So like I thought, why not? There was I used to be very eager to jump into like conversations and debates with like quite right-wing people.
Yeah.
And so there was a guy There's a man called Warcorpse666. That was his
Oh,
you are aware of that person? Have you heard of Warcorpse? I think the reaction sort of
Yeah.
suggests
let's see.
yes.
If I
Yeah.
recall, he's the guy who wears a leather jacket with nothing under it, and therefore.
No.
Oh no, that's
Oh no, that's Hexen.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Hexen. Yeah, 6 Hexen Hammer. No, the War Corp 666 is the guy with all the clocks on the walls.
Yes. Okay, there we go. He's
and
that dynasty guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know how I found his content or his channel, but
Maybe
he would.
I think you were watching a lot of Lindsay Ellis like video essays back in the years ago and something like that, and there was a reaction video to like Lindsay Ellis from War Corp 6.
That might have been it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
the Nazis are all very tightly linked.
Yeah. But you continue.
But no, I would leave comments like under the thing, like, because I thought, if one person says something, then maybe someone will hear it and think, oh, that has sort of made me reconsider. And understandably, when you've got a person like Warcorpse making content, and the videos he'd make as well were always like he'd have like lesbian pornography overlaid over a video of him drinking beer and saying like, oh, I need to suck easy and should shave and go back to the kitchen and like that for like 10 minutes per video, like 7 or 8 videos a day.
Wait,
Like
shave?
10. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, it's just really crass stuff. Like it'd be obviously intended to get a reaction from people.
Yeah.
But like the only people who are watching are people who also have the same mindset and like basically are him. So it's like you're thinking who is. I mean, maybe me, right? Because I'm leaving the comment. But I'd leave the comment and like, so I was never like, strangely, I wouldn't say endeared by him, but like, I always seemed him he always, like, I always thought he was a bit like, not sad, but like, he's just like, he had like thousands, like, I genuinely like thousands of videos on it. His channel got deleted, because there's only so many times you can say the stuff he does and keep your channel.
Yeah.
Wait, they deleted a Nazi? That is
that's surprising. Yeah,
I reckon it might have been for copyright, to be honest. But
yeah.
Anyhow, he had like a decade of just like these videos, like literally, and the titles are always like Democrat Party owned by Hitler meme or something. Like it's all just like the most trivial, banal rubbish. Anyway, after so many comments, after I left a few comments, he was like, oh, I'll wreck you in a debate or something like that. He like put, come onto my live stream if you dare or something. So I was like, why not? And we had our conversation. He was drinking through the conversation, so you can hear him like getting slightly more inebriated as it goes on. And I'm also like, I was 18 at this point, I'm pretty sure. So like,
yeah,
I was a baby.
You still are. Shut up.
Hey, I'm 32. I'm 32.
What? Sorry?
You're also baby. Shut up.
Isaiah asked if he looks 32.
He's usually the baby of the podcast, so he's bragging.
You do not look 32. You've got a very youthful and pleasant demeanor. No?
Like don't crack.
I'm only a few years younger than you. I'm 26 at the moment.
I see.
But yeah, so I did a stream of Warcorpse. Went on for 4 hours.
Whoa!
4 hours. It's still on my channel. You can dig through the archive, the McDonald archives.
I could not spend 4 hours with a Nazi.
I'm not sure how I did it myself, to be honest. But that kicked off the ball rolling because like, obviously Warcorp streamed this. All his fans are watching it. One of them, guy called I say a guy. I found out later he was much younger than he like. So a guy called S-Man Speaks.
Surprisingly or unsurprisingly, they're often quite young.
Well, it's interesting because there was quite obviously Warcorpse was quite a bit older than myself.
Yeah,
like quite a few of them were sort of hit like middle-aged man. Warcorpse, from what I obviously don't recognize
they have boomer vibes, but they have teenage bodies because you have to be an ignorant dumbass for a lot of their bullshit.
Like the sort of person who believed like Warcorpse. Like, he also had like, a cooking channel where it was just like he was quite. I mean, I would never talk about someone's weight. But he had videos where he was like moaning about health regulations being put on certain foods, and then he'd have videos where he'd make like the most saturated, salty, fatty burger with like.
If it's not boiled in butter, it's a salad.
like
Mm-hmm.
just he like you imagine the sort of person who would like I think your state actually is a signed like an anti like you can't have process like what's it called synthetic meat like they've banned that you have to have real
Lab
meat.
grown meat,
Yeah, that's
or
it. Yeah.
okay.
So War Corpse was very much like a eating meat, eating bacon sort of person.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Suffering
anyhow,
makes it taste good.
um, so yeah, back to my sort of story. So yeah, I've got all these my comments on my earlier videos and stuff are all a mess because like you've got all these Nazis and right wing types on there. A
Mm-hmm.
guy called Bearing, who was like
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
God! Oh, that's a blast from the past.
so he found my channel.
Mhm.
And to be fair, I'm pretty sure I was leaving comments on his videos as well.
Yeah,
But,
okay, yeah.
but yeah, he did a few videos. I say videos. I
Mhm.
don't know how he did like a 20-second video of like the start of one of my videos. It was like something like non-binary people exist and are valid. And so
Hello.
he exactly right. And so his video was how many genders are there then? And that was it. So 20 seconds. Bear in mind he had a Patreon, so presumably his fans paid money for that video, which was like 10 seconds on Windows Movie Maker, Windows Movie Maker
No,
making
I'm
that.
pretty sure that is worth about $2.
Mm-hmm.
Like baffling, right? Anyway, my channel ended up just swamped in like Nazis. I'm pretty sure I made a video just reading the comments from like all these people.
Yeah.
But I ended up doing a debate with Bearing, which
Mm-hmm.
like
Oof.
it was a bit, to be honest, he was a bit underwhelming. Like I expected it. He was a bit rubbish.
Well,
Um,
not surprising.
Yeah.
because like some of them, like War Corpse, for as much as I think the reason I'm so endeared to him is because he's like he's so like he's entertainingly awful. Bearing's just boring. Like
Yeah.
our conversation was like he was
Tell us
very
what you really feel.
yeah, he was
Yes.
quite like polite.
Mm.
Obviously, you take politeness from these people with a pinch of salt, right? Because they're smiling to your face and then like being horrible behind your back and stuff, and
Mhm.
not even behind your back, posting a video on it and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
you compare it to like actually one of War Corpse's videos that he made on me is saved on my channel because it just like it makes me laugh. So like I left a comment from like under one of his videos, which is like a like he did like a reaction to a BuzzFeed video where he like read a load of quotes from famous feminists and like was screaming about them and stuff. And so I posted like underneath it like because he was like moaning about bell hooks not
Oh,
putting
so
capital
he's
letters in
like
a
a
name.
slightly upscale Sargon of Akkad, and that he's responding to feminists of old. He's
Mhm.
reading
Yeah, so
stuff.
but he had like a whole section on there's no capital letter here, you can't be doing that. And so I put a comment saying like basically like why do you care, like it's not is that really what who you're gonna die on. Anyway, he read out my comment in his video, and like after each like sentence he was like shouting and yelling about it, and it makes me laugh so much. Like it's so ludicrous. But it swings all the way around into being like I find it hilarious, but then I'm a bit of a masochist, so I mean I can't.
Well, no, I
Um,
can imagine a reaction video where you
Thanks.
react to him reacting to you by just silently laughing every time he loses his shit.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's such a thing. Anyway, War Corpse. I wouldn't say I have a soft spot for him because he's an awful person. Like you can't. I think his channel's now called Lord of Patriarchy,
Yep.
and it's just all the same. It's all the same like BS that he was saying years
But
ago. And
he's
at this point,
Lord of Patriarchy. That is
Yeah.
a shock to me that he would go in that direction.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's not though because like what
Yeah.
a patriarch is someone who's like the man in charge of your family, right?
No, he's
not.
a tiny little dude.
What family does he have? He's not.
He
Like,
is a weak, pathetic, sad little beardy guy.
Yeah.
like I
With-
mean, I never there's for me like there's no judgment.
I mean, he
for
wants
living
to be a
alone.
Time Lord with the
Like,
clocks.
can you imagine like Doctor Who 15th Doctor and it's War Corpse? Like the episode takes place in like what would it be like? You just go back to 1930s diner or something like
Yeah.
sexually harass.
They go
a
back to that
waitress, and
Jodie
would be it.
Whittaker episode where the white supremacist is trying to stop Rosa Parks, and Warkham says, "No, he's right. He's right though. Stop.
Mm.
He's right."
But like to me, there's something because like with the others, like
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of them, like Bearing, for instance, I don't
Yeah.
want to bring them up again, but like a lot of them, they're making money off what they do currently. There's people who will pay and watch their stuff forever, so
Mhm.
they don't have any incentive to stop making it. So but you can
Yeah.
tell the reason they publish their stuff is because it just makes quick money. And it's the same for a lot
Mhm.
of the like social media accounts. Like
Mhm.
they don't actually believe any of this stuff. Like actually, they've got obviously, they've not a moral person because they're doing stuff that's harmful. But
Mhm.
in their own personal life, they probably don't care that much.
Yeah.
Whereas Warcorpse has been doing this for over a decade. Like
Mhm.
his whole life is this, and it's just the same asinine rubbish every single day.
Mm.
What kind of life is that? Like, what?
Mhm.
How many responses can you make to like where you're just shouting about feminism that you don't understand? Like, how many times can you scream about like female footballers or something? Like, it's just so mind-boggling that
I don't
he's
know. I
still
mean, if
doing
they're
this years on.
awesome, I could scream a lot about female footballers.
I
I
mean,
mean, I've seen Ted
like,
Lasso. I know how awesome how football can be.
Um, but then like Walk Up City, he was my introduction to it's called what an intro, eh? But like he was my sort of launch pad for doing sort of online stuff.
Mhm.
That's how I met Geek. I don't quite recall how exact the first time we were on a stream together, but I'm
Well, like I
certain.
said, Scarlet Pimpernel. They're everywhere.
Well, it was if I remember correctly.
How did you find me, Geek?
How did I find you? Okay, so how I find you, before we like chatted together is that like back in like 7 years ago, 6 years ago, when I was covering Pippin on the left, or maybe even 8 years ago, but 2017, 2016, I was like hanging out with like someone that was mentioned in the chat, Kevin Logan, who like as Metro said, he found a lot of these like guys bearing World Cup 66 because of Kevin Logan's Descent of Manosphere like
That was
show.
Mitchell who said that.
Yeah, Mithra said that as well. Yeah. But so I watch a lot of Kevin Logan, Aslan Rollins ends, and like at the time Christy Winters, and you did a stream with Aslan, Christy, and like Kevin Logan one time, and so that's how
Yes,
I
I
found
did.
you. And then I'll admit I heard about the secret Facebook group that Kevin Logan and Steve Shives and like Christy Winters were part of. I just wanted to be a part of that group as well as that, but I wasn't making
Because
videos.
they were the good ones.
They were. uh, so
That's a loaded
which
comment for people who are aware
yes.
of how white people talk in the U.S.
Yes. So that's why I kind of like jump at the opportunity to speak mention S-Men Speaks when you were a part of like that little Twitter DM group of like the poor bastards, and it's just
Goodness
like
me.
sure I want to debate these things, and that's just before I became an anchorist too, and that's before I realized non-binary as well. So like yeah, eventually there's a whole story about that group we don't have time to get into. There's only 8 minutes left in the show. And so that's what I think you were celebrating like 400 subscribers on YouTube. I just like tweeted at you, and then like I just added a bunch of other people that I think were awesome that either you or Forward talked to as well. So that's how you got at the time the most people on like a Google Hangout call was me, Kevin Logan, the American Anarchist. Phoenix was there at the time as well, and on that stream, and then like American Ann is invited on a friend of hers, Piper, as well too. And so yeah, that's how we like formally kind of like just like chatted and as well and talked and like done like live streams together before too. Like I just want to be part of a group to be online, do like talk politics and all. And sometimes
And it turns out the geek had a lot to say.
yes.
Well, about to run, guys, but I am just.
No, it was good
Yeah,
to hang out with Shazam.
Yep. So tell Owen where to find me if Geek you want to do the honors.
Florida. You can go to any of the space centers and you will find this black kid running around being a giant dork.
It's a pleasure to meet you, and I'm sure leave if one of these guys can send me details and I'll DM you or something. I'll follow you and stuff. So
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Later, Isaiah.
Yeah. See you guys later. Bye, Owen. Yep.
And Steve Shives, I became a patron of Steve Shives, so I became a fixture on the Steve Shives Patreon and Hangouts, a member and Hangouts.
He's a liberal, but he's a good guy.
Yeah, Steve Shives is a good guy. He's a progressive as well too.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like, keep going, Geek. Sorry, I cut you off there.
No, I think that's better. You go ahead.
It's like, I think for as much as important as it is to criticize liberal society and to say this isn't the extent of our aims as left-wing people,
Yeah.
like,
it won't work, but their heart's in the right place.
And yeah, exactly. Like someone like
there's
Steve
a
Jobs,
southern expression,
person.
something grandmas say. Bless your heart. It was just basically fuck you, but I get you.
Someone like Steve is a good guy. Clearly, like cares about the world and society.
He wants to help people. He's just wrong.
It's not even. I think it's not even that they're wrong as such. It's that like the means to which they aim to achieve their goals are a bit unrealistic. Like they're wedded to a system that is designed to maintain power. Capitalism is designed to maintain the power of the wealthy, right? So the creation of that wealth in the first place is built on exploitation, and so sort of as much as you can tailor it to be better,
there's no such thing as a happy slave.
Exactly right. Exactly. Much more succinct.
Yeah.
Did you say there are only 5 minutes left, Geek?
About 5 minutes. Yeah.
We're happy to go over, and I just learned that my D&D game is not going to happen tonight, so I could keep going for as long as whatever.
Okay.
Normally, I'd want to take a break so I can relax and get food, but.
Well, you let me know. My schedule. Like I said, I work at a school, so
yeah.
I've got no. It's summer holidays now, right? So I've got no work schedule, and it's uni break, so I've got no.
And I love hearing you talk. You are an interesting character.
Yes. Thank you, John. That's very kind. I mean, it's been a pleasure being on, to be honest. Like I've
Yeah. I've been wanting to have this you on this. So it's just Alchemy is kind of interesting. Like I said, like this was John.
It's just a hangout with friends most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's good to have someone new on to.
I'm honored to be considered worthy of. Yeah.
Hey, a friend of the geek is the friend of the show. I mean, you are.
You go ahead, Owen. You go ahead, Owen.
I was going to say, if we've got more time, I can continue talking
go
about.
Nuts. Go absolutely balls to the wall.
That interesting group we're in, the poor bastards.
Yes.
I find it's a bit of a learning experience now. In fact, I'm just going to turn my lights on quickly because it's getting very dark in my room all of a sudden. We've got a storm passing over us in the UK at the moment.
Oh yeah,
Go ahead.
In just a second.
No problem. I can to talk about the poor.
Yeah, it was taupe. It is now dark gray.
So it was like one of the people that Owen McDonald met through interactions with War Corp 66 audience is a guy called S-Man Speaks. I bet he still has his YouTube up as well too. Haven't talked to him in years as well too. The interesting thing, I bet if S-Man Speaks somehow sees me on Twitter as well too, I'll be like, "Oh hey geek, how are you doing?" Yes, he'd be friendly and cordial, but and maybe I'll be friendly and cordial with S-Man Speaks as well too. But it's just but now Owen's back. I have to turn on the lights, so you go ahead, Owen, and talk about the poor bastards.
No, I'm afraid to say that as an atheist podcast, we cannot allow anyone with a visible halo. You're obviously an angel now.
I would have plugged in my lamp, but it started flickering, so I'd rather not risk it blowing midstream.
Just make sure you keep your head slightly, let's see, for your perspective, a little up and to the right so you don't get the glare.
I try my best to stay still. Mm-hmm. So, we've got, War Corp's server stream, always fans there. One of the viewers of War Corps was a guy called, he was going by the username S-Man Speaks. Now, I later found out this person was a bit younger than myself. Initially, I thought he was around my sort of age.
But it turns out he was literally a tiny baby.
Exactly right. I mean, I think it's a little bit scary actually that someone that young is watching War Corps' content and believing a lot of it.
Well, that's where they get a lot of their recruits.
Yeah, it's scary.
Going back decades.
People that young, sort of just watching that stuff it's just scary. Anyway, he did streaming, so I streamed debates with him. I wouldn't even call them debates really, but him
screaming and you laughing at him Britishly.
I mean, to be fair, he wasn't. He never shouted or screamed. He was actually fairly I wouldn't say civil, but like, calm, wasn't unpleasant to talk to. It was the stuff like when he spoke to him directly, like we're doing
was
now,
he
it was
Piers
fine.
Morganing at you?
I suppose you could call it that. It was always it was when we joined this like
I don't
Geeks
actually know
a
much
moment
about
ago.
Piers Morgan. I just know he's a douche.
He's an unpleasant guy. To be honest, now I can't say too much because he'll can't get
He'll
sued.
sue you. He'll J.K. Rowling you.
There is some controversy about his past because he worked for a newspaper that allegedly tapped the phones of celebrities and people of public interest illegally. Allegedly, I will stress. I'm not making any accusations. And he also has done worked for many unpleasant newspapers, and is quite a unpleasant individual in the public sphere. Like, just doesn't.
To be clear, you're talking about Piers Morgan here, not Warcrooks.
Yeah, Piers Morgan Geek is a British journalist.
Oh, I remember Piers Morgan. Piss Morgan, I call him.
And he's a horrible
we
mix of doesn't says things because he knows that he's got a reputation of saying like controversial things to stay in the public limelight, and also
like the bit where he complained about Meghan Markle not dating him because he was unattractive.
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly, the prince she married is kind of cute.
Prince Harry. Well, I mean that's a whole other can of worms, isn't it? I mean he
he's no longer a prince. I think he stepped away from that, which means he's just rich and not royalty, and therefore slightly less of a piece of shit.
I always find like criticizing American politics is good and necessary, but then you look at the UK and we're a kingdom. We still have a monarch, so it's always a little bit controversial. But no, back to the poor bastards. So S-Man had this big group chat with like a load of so if you look at my channel over years, you can see that I've done debates with people who essentially were all in this big group chat with myself and Geek and a few other left-wing friends of ours, or people we knew. Where we would, I don't even think it was like essentially organizing various debates, chatting about things, but like it was really like toxic and unpleasant because you'd have like some of the people in there were proper like conservative, capital C, terrible views on like so many different things. You had one person who like basically supported the Pinochet regime and believed that fascism was like the preferred government of choice. Not even like fascist as in like a Trumper who sort of just like wants power but doesn't really know what they're talking about, but just like the idea of being in charge. Someone who has looked at the options,
fascism. Yeah,
just like actively supports authoritarian government.
No, I don't want to get you sued. So Boris Johnson.
Yeah, like just no longer an MP, Boris. He's now just sat on the sidelines trying to do what he wants. So you
finally fixed his hair, I think.
He had anarcho-capitalists who are also basically just fascists as well.
I agree.
Yeah, they put some pretty flags on their username and think they're like some anarchist, but really,
I'm sorry, you're not allowed to speak of them here because they don't actually exist.
They're just ridiculous people. But yeah, like just all and like other people who were like S-Man's age or thereabouts who were basically just there because they liked the memes. I mean, I don't want to be unkind because I think a lot of these people were quite a bit younger than myself, and some of them were very clearly like somewhat lonely, and this is their sort of social interaction.
True.
And some of them were very much being sort of, I don't want to say like groomed because that's quite a loaded term, but like they've clearly stumbled.
I would call it grooming
through their heads. Well, because exactly right, because they've essentially gone into a group looking for connections, and one of them in particular was like also part of a group that like made them do a load of very odd things.
I remember that guy.
Like we on a debate I had with him, he was dared by his friends to like call me the N-word.
I mean, that's pretty on brand for the far right.
Exactly, right? But he was clearly like, I'm sure he had some like
who was it? Like, somebody recently said, if Kamala's really black, let her say the N-word.
That was that an actor? Was that Sorbo or was that someone else?
No, I kind of think it might have been Musk.
No, surely not Elon Musk. Surely he's not there
No,
yet.
he is that unhinged. I'm not sure.
Oh no,
though.
definitely. But like, I don't think he's like, I don't think he's N-word at risk yet.
Yeah.
I think that'll be if Trump loses and he's like throwing anything at all to try and get elected.
Google's not showing it to me, but Google sucks. So I remember
yeah,
seeing it show up as a meme in my feed. So, but I don't remember who was saying if she's really black.
These are people.
Mhm.
But yeah, so the poor bastards. So yeah, we had this group. We had all these like there was a person who what were they called? The dark conservatarian who was like
Oh,
a conservatarian
Oh,
a
is
conservative libertarian. Yes.
like
when he says dark, does he mean that he had dark skin or dark thoughts?
I mean he literally dressed up in a black trench coat and filled himself out in the streets. At night.
Oh, so he was a tiny little white guy.
And he like I feel like, I mean, again, I don't want to say anything libelous or anything too mean or nasty, but if you were going to place bets on someone who was going to one day commit an atrocity, I mean,
That's a guy who's
he
going to
was-
walk into an elementary school with a gun.
he was fixated on like he hated abortion. He was fixated on it. He could not stand it, which was a bit scary because if you're already filming yourself late at night, like in public, and it was a bit scary.
And
Anyhow,
you're worried about white women and eliminating white babies. Yeah.
Anyhow, you've got this whole group of people like that. There are some liberally types. There are a few people who are like edgelords, like sort of just like maybe not quite as right wing as the others, but like quite like edgy memes and saying slurs, and so naturally,
Yeah, there's a lot of young boys who like. Yeah, that's part of the grooming.
But because they're this group are so, you've got always people who are clearly like not compatible, really, and that includes myself and you, because we're people who weren't going to tolerate some of the stuff that was being said there, so there's just always arguing. At one point there was someone in the group who like defrauded. They claimed they'd been shot and were like, do you remember this?
I remember. Yeah, I think I kind of left the group by this point, but I did actually. I happened to like watch S-Man Speaks like video on this, and it's like, oh wow. So like I did remember that person. I like that person, but yet with the evidence that S-Man Speaks show, and I actually gave that person money to the GoFundMe as well too. So so I was actually frauded. I believe people when they say they need money, like Phoenix, like Joanne and Robert. So even though I was frauded for like money, $800 I give this person, I'm still willing to give money to like the people.
Geek is like $30,000 in debt if you don't know.
24,000 as well too. But like no, I remember hearing about this. This person like did like fraud this like group as well too. Yeah,
it was. I mean, like, to be fair, at the end of my university studies, I'll be fairly in debt myself, to be honest.
But no, Geek has never done university. This is all from giving.
Well, no. Okay, so
I've expressed my concern. Geek has heard it.
Yes, but also to be fair, accrued some credit card debt before. Like, this was a $500 hat that I bought on my credit card. Other reckless spending, the 1,100 video games in my Steam library and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, but like no. As you continue on, Owen, to talk about like the poor bastard.
Go ahead and do your support.
So no, this person, she. Clearly, I don't fully remember all the details, but essentially it turned out that some of the things she claimed she'd been shot and stuff. And so as you can imagine, a group of people who've joined a right-wing movement through memes and also aren't the best, they're not the most literate people, gave a lot of money to her, got scammed. You had people like grown, like people, some of these people are quite young and they're like hanging out with men much older than them who are also like a guy called Humane Mind who was like really right wing, like so right wing, and had like supposedly they were like a rags to riches story where like he claimed he'd like been living off like noodles and nothing else for a year and had saved up every penny to own a business, and it was just like complete rubbish. But that was,
and they are extremely heterosexual. Like Nick Fuentes and Andrew Tate.
It's funny you mentioned those names because like the Humane Mind, just sorry to interject, but like, oh my God, the one time that this group, the Poor Bastards, actually like broke away from Humane Mind was when I heard about this after the fact, when he suggested that the LGBTQIA plus people should include P in their alphabet for pedophiles. So he was that far.
Oh.
Yeah, and the Poor Bastards.
Yeah,
were
the
already like,
pedos have been trying to get in there for a while, and the
yeah,
queers have been keeping them out. And
yes,
the far right have been saying, no, no, that's what you were all the entire time.
yeah.
Well, they're bad faith actors, aren't they? They'd say anything. Like
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't matter like if every single LGBT person was like in a field somewhere, like having a nice festival and like
Yeah.
yeah, having a nice time, they would still, be like, ah, this is a den of heathenry
It's a
and
group
evil.
of 30-year-old men, they would say they're raping children right now.
Exactly, right? Like they're bad faith actors. Anyway, this group was a toxic, awful place. That they did video when there was a member of a group who has since actually apologized and is not in it anymore, and they've moved on, and I'm cool with them. But at the time, they said a racial slur to me, and so we kicked him out. And then they they like some of them made videos like where it was like why this person is not racist and Owen is wrong. And it's like a whole video they made on this.
I'm going to spend 90 minutes telling you what this white guy done ain't done a racism
it's
done.
like
done.
some of them they made an 11-hour response video once to some of to something 11 hours responding to something I did once.
Jesus Christ.
But it was horrendous. And I look back on it to some degree with like it's like a learning experience, I think, because to me it's like right-wing people, a lot of them just aren't in a place where you can just like talk about politics with them and expect them to understand and debate in like a
Yeah,
in a good
I
faith
go to
way.
dinner with my parents occasionally. Yeah, I know this.
And like I think on one hand, I always enjoy it. Like I do think there's value in conversation. I do think it's important to chat to these people, but to a point, you've got to think, okay, is this person someone who's willing to have a conversation of the same values as you, or is it someone who is just either trying to use your audience, waste your time, bad faith actor, a kid, like I've got like because I used to on Twitter quite a lot. I'd have like back and forth conversations with them and stuff, and I would screenshot some of the worst stuff. I'll have to find I can share my screen, can't I? I'll try and find some of the stuff I used to.
Think like you. Let me see. Right now, the host has disabled. So John Brockman has to like allow you to screen share. I think it's
here,
automatic.
definitely. Let's see. No, not report.
What's happened to my?
Not a record multi-pen. Where's the?
Yeah, but like the memes that were shared of like I've had to say, so I did even when I was in this like a Twitter DM group, I did report the memes as well too, and like yeah, when the racism happened, and I reported the conversation, but I only reported the certain messages that contained the racism as well too. So it's not like everyone in the conversation got reported all at once, and like the group was going to like disband or like that Twitter DM group was going to be deleted. No, I reported just the single messages that I had a problem with, and this was like 6 years ago on Twitter. So this is back in when they cared about like the racism and transphobia and the bigotry happening on their platform. So you could report that, and like it probably can get like someone's to be timed out on like Twitter as well too back then. But yeah, it's just like I can see that as I definitely saw my time in the Poor Bastards as a learning experience as well too. I kind of I kind of did enjoy being part of that group in that, like, hey, I can talk politics with these people, and how well it went. Like, your mileage may vary. Yeah, it's like, but hey, there were some cool people that
Should be
I
able to
met them.
share.
So, yeah, you should. Okay, you should be able to share now, Owen, if you haven't thought.
It took me a while to work through the various things.
It was like, I mean, I think before I start sharing some of these, like I think to some degree there is some like because I think underneath all the memes and the sort of wanting to beat me in the argument and wanting to like and like sort of winning but beating the left and stuff, there are people who like I don't think at his core S-Man was like a horrible person. I think
Yeah, I
he's
agree.
someone, like some of these people were quite young and
Mhm.
just in groups where it's like you get shouted at if you agree with anything the left say, so they have
Mhm.
to sort of go with it. And then
Mhm.
to be fair as well, like because I would never sort of drop things like because if someone like it's silly for me to say I'd never drop things 'cause, like it's objectively wrong for someone to say racial slurs, but in their
Mhm.
mind it's like I'm treating it as though it's like they see it as like a oh he just said this one thing one time,
Mhm.
um and so they perceive me to be like just this nag who goes on and on and stuff,
Mhm.
but you know that's how it was. Like I sort of anyway. I'll show you one of the How do I share? Here we go. Right. So you'd get. Can you see my screen?
Oh,
Yes.
So you got things like that. You got
they do that in the UK too. I thought that was a US
no,
racism.
this person's no, this one's American. This one's American.
Okay.
Nice. He was horrible.
Mm.
You've got things like this, which which
Uh,
just like absolutely terrible.
oh.
Um,
I don't even know what point he thinks he's trying to make.
Like it is just horrendous. I mean, I'll try and find some more, but the folder is quite
Your folder
full
is
with
different from
things.
my folder.
I'm like, I try to remember. I wonder if I saved some of those like screenshots too that I saw. That like I don't know if I can find it as well too because like there's or how like I marked it or where I put it as well too because like oh yeah, and I also probably should like be careful of which ones I will show if I want to show it because I think like I can't but then took
I
some
mean, my folder
screenshots.
also has white men crying, but for a very different reason.
Here's another one. Look, this is something someone sent to me.
Oh my god,
Ah, that's not
that
like
guy.
waterboarding. That's not how waterboarding works.
And you did have a discussion on like your channel with this like man who's an interesting character. Oh god, I remember this guy. I did reported him for his transphobia on Twitter as well too. Uh
Just baffling. Like some of these people were yeah very unhinged.
mm,
Um,
yeah.
Well, that's
oh
what you
here we are.
get from Trump supporters.
I saw this
Mm.
one. Let's try and
Or Liz
I
Truss
caught this when
supporters.
I was. Where's it
Mm.
gone? Here's another one from my So if you look at the comment that has my name in it, there's bear in mind like I wasn't even like involved in this at all. It's just like Walcott's playing
You
games.
randomly.
Just thought to mention this. He thought
I
this is
mean,
where
do
his
you have
mind
an
went.
estimate about how much cum you think you guzzle?
I can't say I've measured. Funnily enough, I mean I'll let Lord of Cancer, Senor del Cancer know when but,
Okay,
I mean,
side note.
does he count girl cum? Because I mean, that's a thing.
a lot of these people
And
don't
there's
think that, do
cum
they?
from the feminine penis. We have lots of different kinds of cum that he doesn't probably take into account.
And also to be fair, I used to play online poker a lot, and sometimes I'll be called some names when I suck out, and I got 5% as well too. I was called cum guzzler one time. I took that as a badge of honor, honestly.
This one's quite interesting. These ones make me laugh because like this guy is several years younger than me. I'm pretty sure he's about S-Man's age. I'm pretty sure he
Yeah.
was like the archetype of like kid who's been sucked into right-wing rabbit hole basically. Because I don't think
Yes.
I think I did a stream with him.
Given
and
that,
it looked,
I'm starting to feel kind of awkward about showing the usernames.
oh, do you want me to? Sorry,
I mean, they
It's
posted
okay.
this stuff on YouTube and you just screenshotted it. At the same time, if these are just dumb 17-year-old shitwits.
Mm.
well, no, that's fair enough. I mean, I suppose.
I mean, they're not
they're-
Kyle
they're-
McDonald. They didn't hunt someone down and kill them. Kyle.
yeah, no, that's fair. That's true. Some of these were quite old comments, and I don't true anymore. But no, they it's not like it's interesting because like I sort of see it as like I said earlier, like a learning experience of sorts. Like it's
Mhm.
some of the ones I document.
It's unfortunate
were,
that people can't be teenagers in private anymore.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I know I was
But
a
no,
complete fucking dumbass. I read Anne Rand. and I thought that was an okay thing to believe for a while.
Yeah.
And that's a bad
Yeah,
thing to
but
believe. She was a terrible person.
Mhm.
And hypocrite too, honestly,
Mhm.
because like it's with her whole objectivism is like if like someone says no one man is an island, she will go yes, yes, a man is an island, and she will seriously do it. But even at the end of her life, she was benefiting from the social welfare like programs of the USA. She was on Medicare.
Sure, she was on her husband's social healthcare benefit so that she could deal with her lung cancer because fire at man's fingertips.
Yes.
We have control of the world.
But no, it was a strange time like that. That whole period of
Yeah.
when I was. I mean, I think I wouldn't say I took a break as such, but I sort of left it all for a few years because I got quite
Almost
I
burned out,
had
you could say.
yeah, burnt out. Work got much busier. I was doing more and more hours.
Mhm.
You know, started up my degree last year.
So
And
you were professionally communisting.
yeah,
I'm
exactly right.
sorry, I'd like to break things up with random absurdities.
No, not
Yes.
at all. I've been I must say I've been enjoying because I've got the tab open with the video on. I've been enjoying like the slideshow of memes and photos and stuff that's like
Mhm.
been scrolling through every so often. It's quite
Yeah. Oh,
Every couple of minutes, I'll go in and change them. Yeah. Cocaine addicts, people scared of riding planes, weeaboos, and power bottoms. Love high-speed rail.
But no,
uh,
there's a lot
mhm,
of you know like the internet for all its the ups and downs stuff is a tool to learn from, I find. Um
mhm,
and so all all the things that happened in the past, like you can take and think, okay, what can we get from this to improve the future? Um
mhm,
and so even the most vitriolic, awful comment is a window into that person's
Mhm.
place. And so for me, like it's all were like for as strange as a lot of it was, it's an experience that I'm glad has happened because it's like it's worthwhile to learn from it and to move forward and to think about what can happen positively in the future and stuff.
yeah. Uh,
I mean, I can do empathy, large scale. It's hard for me to do it in person, face to face, during a
mhm.
conversation.
I
The
find
best I can
working
do is
with
usually to stay silent. I'm
like
not good
working
at.
with so you
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, so I cut you off twice there.
No, I was just saying it's hard for me to deal with a person who is saying hateful shit. So
Mhm.
I try. The best I could do is keep quiet, and because I'm an Uber driver, that means keep driving the car and not steer into a fucking tree.
I suppose
Yeah.
that's quite a broad cross section, isn't it, of society you must interact with driving.
I
So
deal with a lot of drunks.
He's also in South Carolina, so it's like a lot of interesting people around there in South
South
Carolina.
Carolina is Florida, but without the constraint, but
bit
with the tablecloth over the slave.
Mhm.
bit less warm than Florida, I'd imagine as well. Like you're further
A
north
little
on
bit.
the
We're not
East
that
Coast,
far
right?
north. It's a few hundred
Okay.
miles.
Uh,
And we have the Gulf Stream, so
yeah, that's
we're
true.
yeah, we're right there.
Well, so not for much longer, eh? With our current climate catastrophe,
Who knows what the
Yeah.
fuck
when
is
that
going to happen
collapses.
next?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just remembered this as like one of the comments from like Robert Evans and the crew at This Can Happen Here about the DNC is like, and this is something that I had felt for a longest time. Is like, I think so true with like Kamala Harris being like the candidate and like instead of Joe Biden, but I think but the Democrats as a whole they love it. They love it that like the Republicans are going heavy and hard and like fascism and have Project 2025 because like that allowed the Democrats to just say, "Hey, we're
We
not
don't have to make
fascists."
any promises.
Yes,
Hmm.
and the climate change is a perfect example. I don't
Mm.
see any like worthwhile policies or like strong enough policies for my liking. Or at least any I don't know even know what they talk about
They
about
just
climate
have
change
to be
that
the
much.
band-aid on the bullet hole.
Yeah. So
I think
that is unfortunate that like I think with like for sure also the southern border on like immigration is just
Hmm.
like the only difference between like Biden's policies and Trump's policies is just like Trump was harsh with his policies. Biden was nicer about his policies, but the harshness was still there with
Biden kept
immigration.
the concentration camps open. Trump
Mhm.
kept them full of rape. Uh,
Yeah.
no, it's I think the one thing I suppose with the Democrats is that at least um like uh, academics and scientists and stuff will be around and
Mhm.
have their jobs to be able to sort of critique and offer suggestions. So like with climate, for instance, like um, environmental agencies will still have people who are able to say X amount of carbon has been put into the atmosphere, X amount of XYZ is happening.
Mhm.
Whereas under Trump's lot, they're getting fired and replaced with like John Republican. I
Mhm.
said John again. I'm so sorry. I need to
no,
change
no, no, no.
that.
It's. I have to admit, I have to acknowledge I have the name for the white guy.
And as like
um,
Jeff Brummer said on the show before, it's just like the Thugman Party would love someone like John Brockman until they realize that his politics as well too, because like
Hmm.
John Brockman is the standard
I have a
cis white
white
guy in
penis.
America.
They love me.
um,
And a
but
name
yeah,
like
like
John
they
Brockman, it's like John is the white guy name. Brockman
Mhm.
is also the white guy name. There
Yeah.
is a
it,
Brockman Street in every state in the United States.
it
Mhm.
does sound like the protagonist of like a generic like video game,
Yeah,
doesn't it? Like,
we came from
Mhm.
Southern England. I
Yeah.
think County Kent.
but you know, a name's a name, right? Like every name is nice, like
Yeah.
to some extent, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Um, but no, like they you know, Trump is appointing anyone who says yes to whatever horrible thing he's got to say this minute.
Mhm.
So
Let's be
just
honest. Trump doesn't really care if you say yes. He's a rapist, allegedly.
Mhm.
goodness
Yeah.
me. I mean,
He's a rapist.
exactly, right? Like he, but yeah, no, he's terrible, terrible man. It's staggering as well how just like of all the people to rally around, like
Mhm.
this one, him, just someone who's so. I get that American sort of the need
It's
to big
because
up
he
like
was
a big
openly
rich man,
racist.
but yeah, there's that. But there's plenty of openly racist people.
No, no, I mean
Like,
it's because he took the mask off of the
Mhm.
Republican Party. He said
Yeah.
yeah,
out loud the things they've been saying quietly for 50 fucking years.
Mhm.
that's true. Yeah,
So
it,
they finally got to say the N word again,
yeah,
Mhm.
that's true.
and
I suppose.
that's
There
what
you
it
go,
was.
Hetzler. Yeah, no, you're quite right. I suppose he you know there's some talk in those circles is that you know they need to move on. Like if they lose this election, they need to find a new golden bullet to sort of whip up the base and try and have their new storm. But then I sort of feel like, as you say, he's one who has emboldened the racists and the
Mhm.
fascists and all the nasty ones in
I
that.
think if they win this, the
Mhm.
U.S. collapses. China is the new empire.
Mhm. I can see
If
that
they
also.
lose this, then the U.S. collapses and China is the new empire. It doesn't really matter.
Well, yeah, I mean,
uh,
China's definitely, you know, you can't, you look at how their country is operating on a global and domestic level, and it's like,
mhm.
Mhm.
you know, China says they want to improve their transport, and all their cities get high-speed rail.
Mhm.
America says they want to improve their transport. Elon Musk says he can build them like some amazing new
We can dig
high-speed rail.
holes and you can suffocate.
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
it's exactly that, right? Like it's the billionaire venture capitalist with the great innovating ideas, and
Mhm.
really it turns out it's just a way to vanish money, to take money out of public and vanish it
Mhm.
into offshore accounts.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, China isn't the Chinese method of governance isn't exactly an ideal, but
Yeah. Yeah.
their government is building things and doing things, and at
Mhm.
the same time, obviously doing many atrocious things as well. They're, you know,
Oh yeah.
absolutely not a nice country
But
to be
their
listed in.
approach to
But
empire is a direct contrast to our approach to empire.
Mhm.
Because we come in
mm,
and say, hey, we're a bank. You owe us money now. And Chinese
Mhm.
come in and say, hey, I have a couple of $1 billion to build shit.
Mhm.
Gift. Free.
Yeah.
That's a
And
very ancient Chinese approach to empire, going back thousands of years, and I think it will be successful, but it will still be empire.
they've made massive inroads into Africa as well as one place, into many African countries, which obviously have some of the fastest growing populations in the world, right? So
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you've got
because they
emerging.
finally have access to technologies that we've been imperializing for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can to some extent, like you look at, like, imagine you're trying to think of an example off the top of my head, like imagine you're Nigeria, say, and you've just left the British Empire, who categorized you as subhuman and withheld stuff, and basically treated your country like
What a surprise!
a
The famine
mine.
finally ended.
Yeah. And then here comes China with like basically actual trade. And yeah, sure, still one where China gets the upper hand, still one where China is benefiting from. But you can trust that to years of imperialism from Western European powers, and it's like, of course, there's going to be more sympathy and more eagerness to go with a Chinese company than with British ones. Look at how the IMF operates, where like,
Yeah.
oh, here's our wow, we've seen your country's really poor and in poverty. We're going to give you a loan to help fix your company, but the trade-off is we have control of your assets through our various private corporations. Oh, what a shock! You couldn't pay back your loan. Have another loan. We'll take another portion of your natural resources.
IMF, Monetary Fund. It's just all just
absolutely awful.
It's imperial control for the extraction of wealth.
And
I suspect China is doing the same thing. But I think that China is doing it from a context of 10,000 years of doing that. And they're a little bit smarter about it.
And I think what's really frustrating is, like, because you imagine you're like a UNICEF worker, someone who wants to go and help, and you want to go and actually try and fix things and help people who are in need. And then you're stuck in a web of negative, obviously exploitative relationships between various nations and countries. I think France is the most glaring one I can think of in Africa, because you've got quite literally like much of France's energy and power and natural resources come from the dozens of countries that they were quite literally in charge of until very recently, within lifetimes. People were alive who lived under French Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose that's true of British Empire as well. France
I'm
sticks
pretty
out
sure
quite a bit.
there's still people who are living under the French Empire, but yeah.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. I mean, I'm no patriot. I'm not going to be flying the Union flag saying, "Oh, we've fixed ours." France France stick out to me as being quite egregious, because I feel like Britain, to like some extent, has more withdrawn from its territories than France has. Obviously, not saying
it's kind of sad to be more racist than the British.
It's staggering, right? Like, who could top us? We're not, we're the original empire, and yet here we are.
America's trying, but America's going to fail.
No, actually, no, that was the Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
They were the old. I'm pretty sure they're the oldest empire on Earth.
What's the saying? That the sun never sets in the British Empire. That's what the imperialists used to say.
The sun never sets on the British genocides that have been happening.
It's terrible, right? We got statues of half.
The British happen to be the ones to colonize islands. Yeah.
Yeah. Where did America learn the terms empire and imperialism?
From Britain to America to Germany to Israel.
Like it's horrendous, right? Like it's genuinely it's shocking that you can draw a line through like basically every atrocity of the last dozen centuries
years.
in the West. Yeah.
As a friend of our show, the indigenous heretic, our Lakota friend Joey. They would mention that, like, well, where did like the UK or France or whoever or whatever European power learned about colonization as well too? Rome. You can also trace it back to like Rome, as they colonized a bunch of other places as well too.
And they got it from the Greeks. This is a really, really old Bronze Age bullshit. The Greeks were sending out colonies all over the Mediterranean. The difference with the Greeks is that they tended to settle in places that weren't already settled. They chose places where their form of farming could work, and didn't already exist.
Mm-hmm.
So, funny enough, the original buttfuckers didn't buttfuck the people who were living there.
It's staggering, isn't it? Like, I mean, I think part of the you know, empire taking over things, trying to get, resources and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very old thing that's happened, but crucially, we now are at a point in society where if we wanted to, we could not have like we could cooperate, we could work together, we could
We get a
actually say,
fully
oh,
automated luxury gay space communism.
exactly
Yeah.
right. Like, I think it's so like frustrating, but like.
Mm-hmm.
For as much like people always like, oh yes, it's the nature of man to take over and to like be
We
strong
could
and
just
to
stop, and we
yeah, exactly,
don't.
right? Like
Well,
it's like we
I think that one person said, I forgot where, it's like, okay, listen, human nature is that like we eat, we sleep, and we procreate. That's and some can argue with that because there's always exceptions. That's human nature. Everything else is just culture. And which is like, you know what? Whenever someone says like, oh, humans are naturally greedy, it's human nature to be greedy, it's like, where's your
There
source
are
on that?
people out there who argue that humans are natural rapists.
yeah, big red flag over that
I
person, eh?
commit all the rape I want to, which is none.
Yes, it's
It-
so the pendulum's
I
not that.
routinely steal things. All the things I want to steal, I do by not stealing them because
Right.
I don't.
staggering, right? It's like we can predict the next solar eclipse to the minute, to the second
Yes.
even, but we can't work out how Bob and Jim can can Bob and Jim can't get along because Bob's from one patch of land and Jim's from the other patch of land. Like it's just silly. Someone drew
Yeah.
a line in the ground and said
I'm
we're
pretty
different.
sure that Bob
Well,
is short for Robert and Jim is short for Jamal in that situation.
Oh. Yeah. You're
yeah.
right. Lines drawn in the sand, and like it's the concept of the country of Iraq only existed in the mind of a British person, as it were, too.
I
If
mean,
I'm
it's the ancient names for lands just came from the ancient names for languages for people.
Like the hill, river, field.
Like
it's
Deutschland.
yeah.
It means the land of the people. They were the Teutons, and Deutsche or Teuton just means people.
yeah.
And similarly, Aryan, Iran, just means people. They're just talking about their family.
It's like how every culture wherever you go has the same like language, words. Like everyone tries to survive in their own way, farming, houses, communication, games, reproduction, recreation. We're all the same. We're all the same. Someone decided, someone chose to exploit people in a certain way. It's not like an inherent human state of being. Like someone chose to do it. So equally, we can choose to not do that and to have a better world for
No
everyone.
matter where you go, you
Like-
have a kid running around kicking a ball.
Exactly,
And then
right?
there's an American tank, and a soldier pops up sucking on a lollipop.
Exactly right. I mean, actually, you don't in America. You don't soccer, then like American football and stuff. So you're running around with it in your hands. Like
They still kick the ball. We have a bunch of kicky ball games.
I feel like I could go another hour talking just about sports, but I may have to save that for another day, and I might have to dash very soon because as lovely as this has been,
We've kept you for what 2-3 hours?
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah,
it's been great though. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, exactly. So, thank you for inviting me on to your channel like last week as well too. That was great.
You've been a lot of fun to talk to.
And Owen, if you want to come back on to such as Alchemy, you have an open door. We do this on every Sunday at like starting at
2
11
to
a.m.
3:30 generally.
Yeah, 2 to 3
Eastern.
3 Eastern as well.
That would be like 7 to 7:30, I think, for the most part, UK time.
Yeah.
So if you have a topic you want to talk about, like on either on your channel or on like this channel, you're welcome on. Thank you for joining us. Much pleasure to talk to you as well too. Great to talk to you.
Absolutely. No, it's been lovely meeting you, John, and obviously great seeing you again, Geek, as well. So you two take care, and all the
Yep.
best. Thanks everyone for listening to me ramble on about stuff.
Yeah, along with the doctor.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
Yep.
Bye.
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 And now I'll go ahead and cut things off up here and boop. Bye, everybody.
Oh, yep. Bye, everyone.